Hi, how's it going? This is Marissa from discoverintuition.com. I'm here tonight to teach you how to tune into your child's energy when they're unable to tell you what's wrong with them. I'm going to teach you how to tune into their energy so that you can get, either a specific idea of what's wrong with them or maybe just a vague idea. I actually experienced something tonight where Madison, who's sitting here next to me, because this is now probably like realistically about the 16th take of this video. I've been trying to get it done since yesterday, and every time I call the guides in, she starts squawking and wanting to be a part of the whole thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if she starts doing it any second because the guides are heading back in now. But I put a little bubble around her in hopes that she won't be able to see the guides come in and then she won't interrupt. So let's see if it works. If it does, then I'm going to be very, very happy. So anyways, I just drew this little chart here. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't actually. Oh, it's focusing in. So you can kind of see there's me and there's Madison. Don't you love my art? That's me, a human being. That's Marissa. And then you can kind of see like my crown chakra right here. Right here is the seat of my soul. That's what I call the seat of the soul. So that is basically Holy Spirit, Source, God, whatever you want to call, kind of like the creator of all that is. That would be kind of, all of us have a connection to that right there. That would be kind of between your heart and your solar plexus. So your solar plexus would kind of be like right there, a little bit lower. Right here in your heart would be where you have access to your individual spirit. A lot of people would call it their soul or their consciousness, but that's your individual spirit that you have in this lifetime. So each lifetime we come down and it's like we get a whole new spirit that is down here to experience life, learn lessons, have relationships with people in its life that it's lived with like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, but because it's kind of a fresh new spirit, it doesn't remember that. So we get to experience life over and over and over again, learning new things each time, because we have the ability as souls to create these little spirits that go into human bodies. And while the spirit is in the human body, it's learning all these lessons and kind of uploading all of the information to the soul. That's kind of the reason why I'm giving you kind of the basics on that is because in understanding that, you'll be able to understand what I'm going to teach you in a second. So here is, I don't think this is gonna, let's see if this focuses in. So anyways, there's me, and then there's my higher self, basically. So that's my higher self, and that is the piece of me that creates that spirit right there that comes and lives inside this human being. We have these auras around us that are like an emotional body, a mental body, a spiritual body, an etheric body, an astral body. So we have all of these layers of our aura, but we also have all of these layers going up of consciousness. So right here is the higher self that creates this spirit that lives inside a human being, okay? And then here's the soul. The soul creates the higher self that creates the spirit. The soul can create many higher selves, so there's no limit to how many it can create, but it can create those. Usually I've seen souls anywhere between 12 to 85 different creations that soul has created here, and then that higher self. The higher self then distributes spirits down into the human body to live different lives. And we have access to all this as human beings. You can kind of see how I kind of cut off right here, where it's like that individual piece of us, which is our higher self that creates the spirit that lives down inside of us. That's kind of like our individual piece. So if you move over here and you see Madison, Madison's also going to have her connection to Source right here. She's going to have her spirit, her higher self right here. But what's interesting is her and I share this right here. We share the same soul. So the soul that created my higher self also created her higher self. So she's lived all of these different lives as, you know, a spirit living all these different lives, and all that higher self is recording all of that information. All of her lives are kind of stored in here, and that's how we kind of get into like the Akashic records and stuff like that. You're tuning into somebody's higher self to be able to understand and know all the different lives that they've lived. I'll get into this in another video, but a lot of the times when you get a Akashic records reading, the medium may not know as much what they're doing as they think they are, so they'll be tuning into, say, oh gosh, this isn't working. So they'll be tuning into, say, this right here. This is the soul that created a bunch of higher selves, that created a bunch of spirits. So they may say, oh, you were Mother Mary. You were Mother Mary in a past life. And it's like, oh, cool. But so were a ton of other people, because that soul, one of the higher selves that it created, may have lived as Mother Mary, as one of those little spirits may have been Mother Mary, but so were a whole bunch of other people. So a lot of the times when you get into spiritual circles, people will say, oh, I was Joan of Arc. That's what mediums have told me. I don't think that I was Joan of Arc. I think that I may share a higher self or a soul with the creation that lived in Joan of Arc. That's what I think it is, because I know 3 or 4 other people who are in my soul group that have been told that they were Joan of Arc too. So anyways, kind of take who you used to be and what you used to be with a grain of salt is kind of my advice to people. Don't get really hung up on, oh, I was Abraham Lincoln, or I was Napoleon, or I was Hitler, or I was this, I was that, because it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because we all have access to pretty much all the layers of consciousness that we are, and we have access to the layers of consciousness that other people are too. So, I mean, after all, we are all one, and as I've kind of gone through this spiritual journey, I'm really starting to understand what that means. Before it was like, oh yeah, we're all one. But I'm really starting to understand it now through all these little charts that the guides have been teaching me. So when we meditate, we go in, I'm gonna walk us through like a little meditation. When we meditate, we take our awareness that is sometimes, you know, outside of us, or sometimes I'm here and my awareness is at the office. You know, I'm thinking about the office. So when you start meditating, what you want to do is you want to pull your awareness back into your physical body. So the first thing you want to do when you start a meditation is say, where am I? Where am I right now? And your mind will go to wherever it is that you are. You can be in several places. And you're just gonna, using your mind, say, okay, I'm calling myself back into my body. And you just imagine that a little tiny miniature version of you is coming over towards you and going into the center of your head, which would be like in your mind. So you're pulling yourself into your physical body so that you can begin to align with your higher self, your soul, your spirit, your oversoul, God, all of that, all the way up, so that you can connect with oneness, you can connect with higher consciousness, and you can ask questions about other people, other places, other things, about yourself. You can call in your guides. A lot of us think that we have a bunch of spirit guides, and the spirit guides are basically this piece of us. Where is it? Right there. The higher self. It's just the higher self appearing as a wise old man. Mine's Abraham. So he will appear as a wise old man to help me through things, because that's what I trust. He looks like God to me. He's got like the white beard, the white hair, the robes. That's how guides kind of appear to me. Other people who maybe have like issues with listening to men, their higher self or their guides may appear as women because they trust them. A lot of people, they appear as animals, like totem animals and things like that, because they don't trust people. Other people just see orbs or colors, streaks of light, things like that. So fairies, stuff like that. So your higher self is going to use a being, or a being that you would trust and that you'll listen to in order to bring you messages while your spirit is living in this dense human body that is like completely clueless to spirit, completely clueless to God. And while our spirit is living inside this human, our spirit is completely blocked by the veil of spirit and then physical reality down here, until you have like an awakening and you realize, oh my gosh, there's something on the other side. And that's when a lot of you that are probably watching this video are probably at that point in your life, or you were a couple years ago and you're developing your abilities, or you know, you're not even developing your abilities and you're kind of just watching this because it says find out why your baby's crying or something. I think that's what I'm going to name it. So anyways, when you tune into your higher self in meditation, you can ask questions about your future, about your past. You can ask, you know, what's going to happen, or why is this happening, and you'll get answers, because it's kind of like tuning into a little hard drive right here, about 2 feet above your head. And the piece of you that is truly kind of communicating with that is your spirit, that's right down here. So your spirit's right here. I'm sorry, in your heart, and that's communicating with your higher self. There's a lot of blocks between your higher self and your spirit, though, like your ego that lives in fear, that, you know, it's that, don't go take that job, you're going to get fired again. You looked really stupid, or don't go ask that girl out, she's going to turn you down. Remember the girl that just broke up with you? Yeah. You know, it's like kind of like that fear. It's that voice in your head that's kind of trying to discourage you from anything because it's afraid. So ego is kind of fear. It's also that need to be right, that need to make other people look stupid so that you look better. It's basically just all of our human qualities. So that blocks us, our spirit, to our higher self. That's one little interruption right there. Then you've got your intellectual mind that says, well, that just really doesn't make sense. This doesn't compute. This equation does not equal what it needs to equal, so we're just not going to do this. So the intellectual mind gets in the way. And then, of course, you've got your emotional body that's always so much fun because it's the most irrational piece of us. No common sense required. It's just, no, we can't do this because we're going to be sad or whatever. So then your emotional body kind of blocks your higher self from talking to your spirit down here. So in the techniques that I teach in all my teachings, the very first foundational thing that I teach is connecting with your higher self. The very first class I always teach when I do a series of classes is connecting with your higher self, and I actually go through everybody that's in the class, and I go in and I release any blocks between the spirit and the higher self, and release what are called cords, where say the person is connected to their ex-husband and his energy is still connected to theirs, so his energy is kind of messing with their energy and kind of keeping them in a weird cycle in their life because they're connected to him still. So I'll kind of release that, because things like that also block our connection between our higher self and our spirit. So when you want to find out stuff about yourself, you go up, you ask your higher self with the technique I'm going to teach you. When you want to communicate and talk to your child's energy, instead of going from like as healers or intuitives, some mediums, channelers, we have the ability to take our awareness and leave our field and go into somebody else's field so that we can do a reading, so that we can see what's wrong with their physical body, so that we can know what to heal, so that we can see their guides, we can see their angels. But there's a way to do it that's a lot easier and that doesn't take a massive amount of training.